how is a product manager evaluated? What success metrics put out by supervisors as opposed as senior PM? Is the role, is the, you
Entrepreneurial.
know, running a startup as a CTO, COO, meaning kind of your CEO analogy?
Yeah. So here's where I would say I'll speak to the ideal case, and then I'll say a little bit about when the ideal case is not ideal. In my experience, the ideal case is product management is evaluated solely on impact, right, to the organization, to the world. You're here leading a team, building a business, you know, responsible for a product or a portion of a product. And really what matters is, do you make the right decisions, make the right calls, keep the team moving, and ship a successful product that helps build the business? And if you do that, then you are rewarded with career growth and, you know, compensation. And if you can't do that, then this isn't the job for you. And I've had some product managers who, you know, great people, maybe had some of the skills, but for whatever reason couldn't bring the teams along and couldn't ship product. And then that's not going to be a role where you can stay around. But, you know, it's really important. So I would say impact, launches. Back when I started at Google many years ago, launches was almost the only metric. It was launch, launch, launch. And I think you can see some kind of like external criticism of, if you're always launching but not sticking around to build a great product, how does that work out? I think the tech industry in general was like that and has shifted to this idea of landings, right? You have to launch a product, but you also have to land it. It has to launch and succeed and grow. So when I was building our ebook business, you know, we had to launch an ebook business, a set of apps, a store, and then it was successful on day one, but it had to get much bigger. And so we scaled it and grew it for, you know, a year and more after. And that was all part of my career growth and how I was assessed and evaluated. I would say what's hard about this, and as a product manager, you have to think about this, is because that really should be the key thing that you're measured for. If you wind up working on something that isn't important or doesn't move the needle for the company, you may not have the career growth that you hope for. It's like part of your job as a product manager is to be that entrepreneur thinking, how do I make sure I'm working on the things that matter the most to the company, to the world? How do I find, you know, the best way to use the resources under my control? And so in that way, I think it can be a very entrepreneurial role. If you just show up and do what you're told on the tin, you know, your job is to be an X, Y, and a Z, and then here's your team, and you get that team to do an X, Y, and a Z, you know, that can be okay. But if you can get the team to do X, Y, and Q, and Z didn't matter, but Q was materially impactful to the company, then you've done a much better job. So it's your job to think about that and find that.
Awesome. So, I mean, just to clarify on that, so then you're saying that as a PM, at least in the companies that you've been at, you actually have the creative openness to bring your own ideas and try to pitch it to the team, pitch it to the company. Is that the case?
Yeah, it's a great question. And this is where I'll move from ideal to non-ideal. So in the ideal world, yes, like that should be your job. And that kind of a person should be the person who's a great PM. Different teams have different experiences. Some teams have, you know, they just need PMs to build features or maybe own a piece of it and really build this roadmap out quickly, focus more on the execution side. There have been times when I've been on projects where I knew what the innovative thing was that I wanted to build, and I knew that the amount that the company was willing to invest in the product was different from what I, you know, would need to go after the bigger win, and that we were okay with the smaller win. And then you're just in an execution game, right? I'm going to do these things that are pretty clear. And that can be when it's frustrating. You're thinking, I'm not actually the CEO. And you can still try to, you of course should do the best that you can inside of that, but you'll live inside of some resource constraints. At the same time, I think in my experience, it's never been frowned upon for somebody doing that to pick their head up and look around and say, how can I help put my energy into something that does matter, where it will be valued by the company?